All right, so welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining this session from the Institute of the Americas on career options and support for our undergraduate students enrolled in the History and Politics of the Americas BA or the History and Politics of the Americas BA with Year Abroad. So my name is Malu Gato and I'm admissions tutor and lecturer in Latin American politics at the Institute. And I'm here joined today by Hilary Moore, who is a careers consultant for UCL Careers, and she is the dedicated careers consultant to our institute. And so she knows our programs very well, and she also works closely with our students and supporting them. And so she's going to tell us a little bit more about that. So I'll turn to you, Hilary, and thank you so much again for.
No, pleasure. Absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you so much, Malu. And welcome everybody. Yeah, it's lovely to be here. As Malu said, I work quite closely with the department and with our undergraduate and postgraduate students in the department. So what I'd like to do today is talk to you a little bit about the career side of this. And what I'm proposing to do is probably talk for about 25 minutes, something like that. Just go through some bits that I think it would be quite useful for you to know. And then after that, we'll open it up and Malu's going to record the first part. But obviously, as she said, we won't record the questions. So you can then jump in and ask us any awkward questions, put us on the spot and find out what we know. So you're very welcome to do that at the end. So so I thought that, when I've done these sessions before, and certainly when I've worked with people like yourselves who are deciding on which university to attend, and also when I work with undergraduates in their first year, these are the kind of questions that come up. And I think that, so these are the questions that I'm going to address today, and hopefully give you some things to think about, sort of as well as thinking about specifically Institute of the Americas at UCL, just to think about broadly speaking in terms of your career and what you can do to enhance, I suppose, your prospects for getting a good graduate job, because in many cases that's what getting a degree is about. It's not just about that, and you'll have a fantastic time at university wherever you go, particularly UCL, but also I think that there are things that you can be thinking about and doing and planning. And I want to talk to you a little bit as well about how UCL specifically can help you in those plans. It seems, I'm sure, really super early to be thinking about careers. At the same time, so nice to see how some of you have turned up to think about it now, because the data always seems to indicate that the earlier our undergraduates can start thinking about this and planning for it and getting experience, even if you don't know what you want to do, which is perfectly reasonable. There's no reason why you should know what you want to do, but the earlier you can start thinking about it, the better. It just gives you lots of time to explore different options, to come and talk to us, to get some feedback on your CV, to talk about how you can enhance your skill set. So that's why we like to do this session and get you thinking about it now. And I really hope you'll get something out of this, and please do ask questions as we go through if anything is not clear. Just want to sort of put this in a bit of a context. Because I sometimes hear even from first years that they're worried that they don't know what they want to do with their lives. Sometimes I hear it from third years. Sometimes I even hear it from postgraduates. I actually work with people who've got some years of experience. That's another part of my job, and sometimes they don't quite know what they want to do with their lives. So I just wanted to kind of set it in the context of the fact that, for one thing, as I say here, your generation, the research indicates, and this was a report done by an organisation called the Foundation for Young Australians' New Work Order. They did this report in 2015. And, the projection is that your generation is going to be working to around 70 plus, possibly. That you'll be working in multiple different careers. So actually the projection is that your generation will probably have about 5 different careers. That's not just jobs, that's careers. And within those careers, you're looking at about sort of 17 to 20 different jobs, right? So, and added to that, the sort of complexity of the job market these days is that, you know, it's quite possible, in fact, it's highly likely that you're going to be working jobs that we haven't even heard about today. I mean, I know that when I started doing this kind of work, sort of 10, 12 years ago, people weren't even talking about sort of things like, working in social media, or, those kind of jobs didn't exist, and that will keep happening. So it is a little bit more unpredictable than it was, say, for your parents' generation. The point here is that I think, and I just really want to stress this up front, is it takes time to find out what you want to spend your life doing. You know, it takes time and trying stuff out. And I certainly have, probably Malu as well, you know, you sort of try things and it doesn't quite work, and then you do something else and you adapt and you learn. So, you know, just to go easy on yourselves, if you don't know now, it's completely understandable. If you don't know even by your second and third year, absolutely understandable. But that it will take a bit of time building skills, thinking about things to work out what sort of direction you want to go in. Now, if you're anything like me, you will look at this and think, oh my God, that looks absolutely awful, and, you know, weird data coming at me. What is she doing? The question I'm trying to answer here is the question around what can you do with a degree from UCL, the Institute of the Americas, okay? When I'm asked that question, the first thing I do is go to our data. So let me just briefly explain what this is, because it is a bit overwhelming when you first look at it. So this data is gathered 15 months. Is that all right, Malu? Can you just about see what's on the screen? Yeah, okay. So this data is gathered about 15 months after our students leave. I'm going to look at a few different bits of data here. The one thing I should point out is that because our undergraduate degree is actually quite new still, I always forget, Malu, but when I looked at the data, I realized that we still haven't got to the point of being able to get data from previous cohorts, because the degree just hasn't been going long enough. Where is it? Maybe four?
We only have one graduating cohort so far, right? And so we're going to have the second one now.
Okay, so that graduating cohort will be getting the data now, and we'll be able to process it a little bit later. It takes a while because it's 15 months after they leave. So this, first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to look at postgraduate data first. So I think that is still relevant to you, even though they're postgraduates, not undergraduates. Then I'm going to look at a history cohort and a politics cohort. What I want you to do is look at the bit in red. These are the industries that the postgraduates have gone into. And the relevance is, postgraduates are sometimes just undergraduates who've gone straight into their postgraduate degree. So actually, you know, they can be quite similar to undergraduates in many ways. But what I want you to look at is the variety of things that people go into. So yes, you've got 16% of our leavers going into accountancy, financial services, but you've also got people going into policy government, into the healthcare system, into media, into publishing, into teaching, into charities and NGOs. Okay, so a really, really wide selection of different industries that people go into. Underneath that, you might want to have a quick look at the kind of job titles they get. And on the right-hand side is the sort of organizations that people go into. So that's the postgraduate cohort from the leavers 2018 and 2019, the kind of jobs that they went into. What I'm going to show you next is, and again, this is because I can't show you the undergraduate data because we don't have the undergraduate data yet, but let's compare it to similar courses. Okay, so this is the history department. So this is undergraduate leavers 2018 and leavers 2019. Where do they go into? Okay, so you've got teaching quite near the top, media, publishing, accountancy and financial services, again, hospitality, IT and technology. We've got policy and government. We've got advertising and PR marketing. Let me show you one more. And this is politics, because you will be learning history and politics of the Americas. So that's why I'm kind of comparing to those courses, because effectively the kind of methodologies that they'll be learning will be the same as your methodologies, same kind of skills being built up. And again, this is sort of, again, it's the variety. It's people going into finance, into management consultancy, into technology, into policy and government, into banking, into performance, into social research. So when I'm asked, what can I do with a degree from Institute of the Americas? You can do an awful lot of things with a degree from the Institute of the Americas, an awful lot of things. and I just thought I'd take a comparable course. And this is hopefully the last time I'm going to have to compare to another course who's done, because they've obviously got a longer standing course and they have graduates who've left and they have been able to track the careers of those graduates. I don't know how long this course has been running at Nottingham, but, again, it's the same thing that they're saying, that their data shows it's journalism, broadcasting, marketing, personnel, HR, into finance, into politics, into charities, into non-government organizations, so into the law, carrying on in research. So I hope that I'm making this point about the fact that there's just, this degree that you will get from the Institute is incredibly adaptable. I've just popped up here the website prospects.ac.uk for any of you who are interested in doing a bit more research around where people with these degrees go. Really, really good website for thinking about graduate degrees. And what they do is talk about sort of degree. So this was politics. There are jobs in which, say, a politics or a background in politics, which you will get if you're studying history and politics in the Americas, is very relevant in areas like becoming a political risk analyst or a political consultant. Obviously, there's a direct correlation using some sort of some expertise in the field, but there are lots of jobs in which the degree is just useful, and these skills that you're developing can be transferred into many, many different roles and industries. One more statistic for you, and then I promise not to throw any more data at you, don't think. The first is, and again, I think this is just useful to know before you start university, is that 60% of any in the UK graduate jobs are open to student with any degree discipline. So here in the UK, that you've got this tremendous flexibility in the job market. If you are an international student, by the way, I'm not a visa expert, but at the moment you can work for 2 years finishing your degree. There's a graduate route visa that you can then get the UK work experience if that was what you wanted. But you have this tremendous flexibility in the market. And the other thing just to bear in mind is that although you will hear a lot about graduate training schemes and lots of people starting their careers on graduate training schemes with large companies, actually only about 15% of students work for big companies when they leave, and an awful lot of them work with smaller organizations. Just something to bear in mind, because I think people, I suppose the reason I'm telling you this now is that my experience of working with first and second years is that they can get very hung up on the limits of their degree, that certain degrees just lead definitely into certain routes, and that just isn't the case. Certainly in the UK, you've got so much choice and so much accessibility of the market, and so many small to medium-sized enterprises that are very keen to hoover up talented graduates who bring lots of skills. Why is it that the market is so flexible? Why isn't it a bit more kind of regimented in terms of what you can go into with these degrees? I mean, it's great, but I, sometimes it's a little bit confusing as to why this is, how the market itself works. What are employers thinking? The reason is that certainly in the UK, employers, what they recruit for is these sort of soft skills. It's the transferable skills that can be learnt at university, taken into a media company, and then taken into a financial company. So what they're looking for you to come out of university with is these kind of skills, right? Research, writing. I'm not going to read the whole list, but the ability to present, very key for many employers. The ability to work in groups, to get on nicely with others, to come up with ways of analyzing problems that you'll be able to, analyze an academic problem, but you'll be able to take that ability into the workplace. And as an undergraduate, any employer is going to look for evidence of these skills. And the evidence can be gained from your academic work and also from extracurricular activities, which I'm going to talk about in a little bit in a second. So that's the undergraduate level. At postgraduate level, employers become more interested in that specialist knowledge. So although you will be learning about, really important regions, and on my next slide, I'm just going to look at the kind of benefits of doing, say, a degree like an institute in the Americas, and that kind of global perspective that will give you. So important in today's marketplace. But it's really, I think it's fair to say, it's not really until postgraduate level when you start to drill in, or you start to go deeper into those subject areas, that employers become more interested in that specialist knowledge. It's not that it's not great that you can't bring some of that knowledge to an employer as an undergraduate. It's just that they probably, you know, the genuine interest in your specialist knowledge is a little bit later on, when you have a chance to get deeper into it. So that's why the market is flexible. They're looking for these skills, and they're looking for potential. They're looking for your ability as an individual to learn, to grow, to learn new things. So the combination of great evidence for transferable skills and potential makes you a really compelling candidate in the marketplace. So just sort of thinking about what you'll gain in terms of those skills from the Institute, I think my understanding of what our students learn in the department, and knowing the students and knowing some of the staff, and just observing their growth and development over the time they're with us, these kind of skills, constructing an argument, writing persuasively, working without supervision, building your confidence in research, discussing ideas, problem solving. All these kind of skills are built up over the course of the 3 years academically with us, whether or not you do a year out as well. And this other thing about cultural sensitivity, and I know some of you will, I guess, be going abroad, and maybe some of you won't, but either way, it's the getting an understanding of different perspectives in different parts of the world, possibly with some language development. That kind of open-mindedness is just absolutely key in an era when equality, diversity, inclusion is so important. I can't think of an employer that isn't very interested in developing that aspect of their commercial practice, and to be able to come in with those kind of skills and talk about what you've learned, perhaps where you've been to, the year abroad, is just in my opinion, puts people ahead of the game when it comes to again being competitive in the marketplace. So we've looked at what you can do with these degrees. We've looked at the skills that employers look for, the skills that you'll be picking up, these transferable skills as you go through the course. But what else is needed? Because one thing that we do hear from all employers really is that a degree is not enough by itself, and that it's the kind of the evidence that you gather, as well as the degree, around the academic work, that also really feeds into great applications and interesting CVs, and then you'll have lots to talk about at interview as well. So as you progress through the course, it's thinking about what else can you be doing on the side. Extracurricular stuff, getting involved with societies in the department, and through the Students' Union at UCL, doing voluntary work. I mean, in many ways, I would say that sort of society work, voluntary work, absolutely key. If you're interested in careers in charities, NGOs, public service, I guess politics, policy development, demonstrating ongoing experience, I guess, which sort of demonstrates a kind of public service. I didn't articulate that very well. I hope that makes sense. But voluntary work really does enhance the CV, so really important. And of course, you will gain skills in your year abroad if you're doing that. It doesn't matter if it doesn't all have to be relevant. And if you don't know what field you want to get into, if you don't know the sector, or you don't at the moment quite know what the direction of travel is, which is totally, in my opinion, kind of as it should be right now, especially if you don't know what it is that you want to do. The way that people figure out what they want to do is by doing stuff. It's by having lots of experiences. It's by trying things out, seeing what you like, seeing what you don't like. I mean, there will always be those people, won't they, who kind of, and I remember being at UCL a few years ago and picking up the phone first thing in the morning to somebody who said, oh, I'm just starting my A levels, but I know I want to be an investment banker. What kind of activities do you offer for people who want to be investment bankers at UCL? And I thought, oh my goodness, like, really? But there will always be those people who know exactly what they want to do. For many of us, that just isn't the case. But that's why that emphasis on just trying stuff out, absolutely critical when you're trying to make your mind up about this kind of stuff. So yeah, lots of engagement with different activities. Just a little career model for you, but by and large, the career research seems to indicate the fact that at the center of your interests, your values, what's important to you in life generally, I'll give you an example of that in a second, and then your natural strengths. So that list of skills that I showed you, what is it that comes to you most naturally? At the center of all those, that kind of where it all intersects in the middle there is where the most satisfying and fulfilling work is found for us each as individuals. But of course, that means that you need to find out what your interests are. You need to figure out what your natural strengths are. You need to think about what's important for you in life. And that comes with, again, time and trying stuff out and failing and picking yourself up again and saying, okay, if it's not that, then something else. And just to touch really brief, I'm not going to go into a lot of career, advice or anything like that. But when we're thinking about interests, it's things like, as you go through your degree, thinking about, well, what is it that you are really interested in? What are you particularly drawn towards in your academic work? Any particular modules or projects, or is it the act of research that you really enjoy? Or do you go through your degree and actually think, as some people do, that was interesting, but actually I'm kind of more interested in stuff outside my degree, and I don't need to do anything that is directly related to my degree. As you can see, you have a lot of options not to do. And then strengths, I heard, I was reading something the other day about how our strengths are, so it's the skills that we enjoy. And often they're hidden, actually. Often we're so good at them naturally. Things like, maybe you're just naturally a very empathic person, naturally very good at getting people's stories out of them. But we're so good at them that we almost don't quite realize that they're there. Those are strengths. And so we've got strengths, interests, and then the other thing is this thing around values, motivations, right? This is an exercise I sometimes do with some of my third year, some of my final year students, is pushing them to think about what's really important to you. If I made you look at this list and say, okay, my top 3 motivators, the things that are really important to me in life, I cannot do without, absolutely, I will not compromise on these 3 things. Which of these would you choose? For some people, it's extremely important to be very well financially rewarded. For some people, it's all about, minimal stress. For some people, it's all about, I don't know, helping people. But the experiences that you'll have academically and in the activities that you do beyond academia and in your travels and your studies abroad or everything else will help you to kind of focus in on these things. And as you can see, you can't have, well, I haven't really made this very clear, but yes, it would be lovely to be very well financially rewarded for minimal stress and having nobody to tell you what to do, but they tend to conflict. So that's the thing about motivators' values, is that, it takes a bit of time to figure out what they are, but that's another part of this puzzle, because then you can start assessing jobs in the outside world against what's important to you, against what the opportunity is to use your particular set of strengths that makes you unique. So just to touch on just a couple of little points at the end here. This is a sort of basic career plan for your time at university as an undergraduate. In your first year, and this is, the recommendation, it's not like anyone's kind of going to be cross with you if you don't do all these things. It's just when we're talking about stuff, trying to get experiences, trying to understand yourself, getting some things to write on your CV. In the first year, alongside the academic work, the recommendation is that you try to get involved with the society, maybe do a bit of volunteer work or some sports if you're interested in sports, or get a part-time job. Obviously, the academic work is super important, but is there anything else that you can enhance and add into that? And I'll go on in a second to mention what UCL Careers offers while you're here, but we have a lot of careers events and talks throughout the year in many different fields, and lots of opportunities for you to meet employers and alumni and talk to them about what they do. But yeah, it's just sort of doing a little bit more than just the academic work, getting involved with different things. The summer of your first year, you will hear an awful lot about internships when you come onto campus. Internships the first years are very unusual, and normally what we say in the first year is just get some work or volunteering experience, get something. It could be working in a pub, it could be working in a coffee shop, it could be voluntary work, it could be, you know, working in a summer camp. It's just starting to build those skills so that you can put on your CV that you've had some teamwork and you've had a bit of responsibility and you've organized something. That's the first year. The second year, recommendation, trying to focus in maybe a little bit on a couple of specific fields that you're interested in, attending some more careers events, coming to see us, and I'll show you how you can do that in a second, talk a little bit about that, coming to see me, talking about where you think you might be a little bit weaker, what ideas are coming together, how you can build on those ideas. The second year is, and I know it's slightly different for people who are going abroad, but the second year, I would say, is important if you can in that second year to get, and now we're talking about the summer, to get some kind of work experience. Malu, for people going abroad, does the timing work for work experience in the second year as well as going abroad?
Yeah, it depends on whether they're doing the work abroad or the study abroad. And also different universities will have different starting dates, right? And so it just depends. But I can talk a little bit more about, you know, how they could also use their year abroad.
Oh yeah, perfect.
To essentially get more work experience as well.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I would say work abroad, dynamite on a CV. I mean, it's such a great combination. If you can get some work experience and be abroad, really fantastic. But you know, again, it's like any work experience that you can get in the summer of that second year, or when you're abroad, if you've got that extra year, something else to enhance the CV. And this but not always, but can be when people are starting to think a little bit more in terms of relevance. You know, maybe you do want to get into politics, maybe working in some kind of political or policy role in the summer, recommended. And then you're either having your year abroad or you're not. And then when you come back in your final year, this is when the year can be quite, there's quite a lot on, because that's when the graduate jobs are advertised. They start being advertised very early in your final year. So from September onwards, you will be seeing the big recruiters coming onto campus and starting the recruitment process for people to start working the following September. Those are the graduate schemes, and they tend to be for the big banks, the big consultancy firms, the big pharmaceuticals, some charities, but they tend to be very commercially oriented, less political, less charities, although there are a few. But there are lots of other ways to get jobs. I mean, that's just the other thing that I would say. And we help people with interviews and applications. So that's the kind of basic plan. And the final thing I just wanted to show you just in relation to that is just so how UCL, and I suppose UCL Careers can help. And I will be the dedicated careers advisor for the department. You know, there for you to come and talk to whenever you want about career related things. I don't sit in the department, I sit in UCL Careers, which is the central careers service, but I'm kind of, you know, I haven't really been back and forth to the department recently because of COVID, but hopefully I will be a bit more back and forth next term. You know, got thousands of internships, you know, throughout the course of the year, part-time, full-time, casual work, all searchable by sector, really good jobs board. We have an international jobs board partner called Going Global, which is the sort of supplier of our international jobs. And it's actually a fantastic, informative partner to have, because there's loads of advice and guidance on how to apply for jobs internationally, how to write your CV for whatever country you're going to, you know, what the trends in those markets are, who the big recruiters are, really helpful. And then we offer just loads of advice and guidance. I do one-to-one careers coaching, and that really is for anybody. You know, I always say to the first years, don't sit on being confused and not knowing what to do with your life, and just come and chat with it. You know, come and have a chat about it, because normally the answer to what should I do with my life is stop thinking about what you're going to do with your life, and, you know, just try to get some experience and break it down into little steps, and we can work with you on that. You know, what can you control now? What could you do that might move you a little bit more towards building skills and thinking about what you might want to do afterwards. And then we do lots of CV application checking. We do support with interviews, lots of interview coaching for people who have internships, or, you know, interviews for internships or work experience or jobs, lots of group workshops. And then throughout the course of the year, UCL Careers Central runs lots of careers fairs. I mean, you know, we run them in politics, in government, in finance, in consultancy, in charities, in NGOs, international development. And these are often week-long themed week events when we have employers coming onto campus, coming to talk to you, alumni panels, employers checking CVs. You know, I do think I'm biased because I do love UCL, but I do think one of the benefits of working at UCL is that our employer contacts, the keenness of employers to engage is super. It's great. They're really keen to come and meet our students and recruit our students. And then we run also a fantastic careers week in June for people who are interested in careers around politics and government and charities. And it's really inspirational, brilliant speakers. And we have alumni sessions, and I run an alumni session in the department for the Institute. And we bring back people who've, you know, gone into amazing professions and get them to talk to you guys, to undergraduates. So I think that's probably bringing me to the end of what I wanted to cover. Yeah, I hope that was helpful. Do we have any questions? Or Malu, did you want to say something about the year abroad in terms of career?
Hilary, yeah, I actually wanted to just perhaps before we start with the questions, to just talk a little bit more specifically about how the Institute of the Americas helps students to do the things that you were just talking about, right? And so like develop skills as well as essentially help them find their interests. If I could ask you to just perhaps stop sharing your screen, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So we can, you know, have a conversation now. But so anyways, but I think there are a few things that I wanted to highlight from Hilary's brilliant presentation in terms of, you know, bringing it back to the Institute. And so in terms of developing skills, as well as exposing you to opportunities to learn about what is it that you like, I think that there are a few ways that you can use this degree to do that. You know, some of you who may have attended our open day, our offer holder day, as either, you know, in person or online, may have heard me already talking about this, which is that you're going to be getting a degree in history and politics, which are two key disciplines that complement each other very well. And so Hilary spoke about, you know, they're disciplines that have different methodological approaches to research. And what that means is that you're going to be learning to deal with primary data, so like archival materials and other types of primary data. But you're also going to be learning how to do in-depth interviews with elites, for example. You're also going to be learning how to do focus groups. You're going to be learning how to design surveys, as well as how to conduct, for example, quantitative analyses. And what that means is that you will have developed skills that are very useful in different types of professions. So for example, data journalism is a huge area now, and you need, you know, quantitative skills to do that. You may also be working for, you know, companies that work with like consumer interests or public opinion polls, right? Such as like election polls, and all of those also require people to know, to have knowledge in surveys. If you're, you may also be working on policy making, which is something that often uses focus groups to figure out how to make decisions about a certain policy and how it may affect citizens. And so all of these types of skills that you'll develop in methods are going to be really important. But we've also sought, like as a very new program, we've sought to design the program in such a way that you're also going to be developing these skills, these like traditional academic skills, like taking exams and performing under pressure, also, writing academic essays, conducting original independent research that shows critical thinking. But you'll also come out of our program with a portfolio of materials to show employers how you know how to communicate academic knowledge with non-academic audiences. So you're going to be producing policy memos, which are policy solutions to real world problems. You're going to be producing op-eds, blog posts, podcasts, and data visualizations. And this is part of your portfolio for your final year. You're also, of course, going to be writing a dissertation, which is this independent research project. You're also going to be doing things such as, for example, group presentations, which goes back to what Hilary was talking about in the beginning. So, there's assessments, there is, the disciplines themselves, and then you also have the opportunity, of course, to develop language skills, both at UCL as well as in your year abroad. In the year abroad itself, you have the opportunity to either actually work, right? And so you could do a work abroad year in which you then become a language tutor in a country in Latin America or the Caribbean, or you can study at one of our partner institutions, and you can, of course, then take other types of disciplines, or you can get an internship abroad. And some of our students do that, both, paid and unpaid. And so I do know of a couple of students who are doing paid internships. There are just things to keep in mind in terms of, what are the number of hours that your visa allows you to work in a particular country. But there are lots of organizations working on, particularly in Latin America and the Caribbean, but of course in the United States and Canada as well, that would be working, for example, towards development goals, right? And so gender equality, environment, racial equality, human rights, like all sorts of things that you may be interested in, and that would be these organizations may be really benefiting from your skills. I wanted to mention two other things that you may receive support on from the department in terms of developing your skills, as well as, planning for the future. One is the department, and particularly from next year, because we're going to be returning fully to campus, or at least that's UCL's plan for now, we host many, many, many events. Now, lots of these events are with academics from other universities, but many of them are also with practitioners. And those are great opportunities to not only learn about things beyond what you're learning in the classroom, but also to network and to learn how to network, because as Hilary will probably be able to tell you more than I can, learning to network is really important for, your careers. And so these events can be sort of like a soft experience, right? To get you to learn how to network and to even meet potential future employers, or even future supervisors if you want to continue on further study. And finally, the thing that I wanted to mention within the department is also that you would each be assigned a personal tutor. And personal tutors work with undergraduates for their 3 years or 4 years that they're enrolled, meaning that we get to know you very well. And so, I now have third-year students with whom I've been working for 3 years. And so I know what courses they've taken. I know their interests. I know, what extracurricular activities they're doing. And so they also come to me to talk about, their plans for careers. And, I sometimes review their CV or their cover letters as well. Of course, I also direct them to the UCL Career Center because that's where they're going to be getting the most expert support. But I also, am helping them prepare these documents and also to write them recommendations. And as a small department, it's really important that we get to know you very well, meaning that we get to write recommendations that are very personal, right? And targeted to you and your interests. And finally, I wanted to mention two things that are available to you at UCL more broadly and that complement some of the things that Hilary has already said. And one, which I think it's such a brilliant initiative, which is open to first year students. And so you would have to apply, almost as soon as you get to UCL, which is the Laidlaw Scholars Program. And I've been working with Laidlaw Scholars for the past 3 years now, and they're brilliant. And so this is a competitive fellowship that you do have to apply. And then in your first year, you get partnered with a UCL academic. It doesn't need to be in your discipline. It can be like in any discipline across UCL. But you do have to have the relevant skills to work with them. But then you become a Laidlaw Scholar for the entire period during your studies. And then every summer you have something new to do, and it's a paid program. And so they'll pay for your activities during the summer. You also get to do different trainings and activities. And then you're part of this cohort that UCL is supporting. And then the second thing that I wanted to mention in terms of opportunities, it's something that is just being launched, and it's going to be open to second and third year, and of course then fourth year students, which is UCL is just launching the Social Data Center. And basically what the Social Data Center is doing is that it is establishing part of what they're doing. They're establishing internships focused on data science for students enrolled in one of the programs in the social sciences faculty, social and historical sciences faculty. And so basically, these are going to be internships at the BBC, at the Guardian, at different organizations. I think that there are some government divisions as well, at organizations that require people to analyze qualitative and quantitative data, but also, to use the transferable skills that you will learn during your degree program. And so I would really encourage you to, have those opportunities in mind as well. If you do choose to come to UCL, because I think that they're really brilliant opportunities. And with that, I'll stop here so that we can open for questions. But thanks again, Hilary, and thank you also for attending.